Hello, I'm going to go over how to properly use the ROJO setup on a healer. This is kind of a pain point for me because I've been in several trials where the uptimes are not real great, either because the person wearing the build doesn't understand how to get the maximum amount of uptime on it for their proc, or they're just not heavy attacking that much at all. So I'm going to go over a couple of really important things to remember, um, so that you can run the build optimally and have the highest uptime possible. So one thing to remember is you should have higher uptimes in a trial than you do just standing here like I am on a dummy or something like that, because you should be getting other buffs from your group, such as a powerful spell weapon damage, maybe even a Spalder of Ruin, uh, pillage, Pearlescent Ward should be buffing you. Also, the other healer having SPC running Major Courage should increase your weapon damage. Well, why is that important? Well, the cooldown for this depends on two conditions. How much spell damage do you have, and how much max magicka do you have? So you want to make sure that you have an extremely large max magicka pool, as well as getting your spell damage up for when you are going to proc the set. Now there's a couple of ways that you can do that, but I'm going to show you a way to be able to get a maximum proc out of this without sacrificing other areas of your build. For example, you do not need to run weapon damage glyphs on this build. It's not necessary. If you want to do it, you can do it, but it's not needed. The other thing is you need to make sure that you have Jorvuld's guidance on your body. Do not wear Roaring Opportunist active at all times. You can only proc this set once every 22 seconds. So if you are wearing Roaring Opportunist as a body set, then you're going to be shutting off Jorvuld's guidance. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that Jorvuld is on the body. I recommend the chest, waist, hands, legs, and feet so that you can still wear a monster set. And then you wear the Roaring Opportunist on the jewelry and your back bar weapon. As I've said in previous videos, I recommend the ice staff. There's several reasons for that. Go watch my off healer or one of my healer builds from the trials team. I explain that in detail there. Now, how to proc this set. I'm just going to remove this piece right here so that I can demonstrate something. Roaring Opportunist on its own, as you can see at the bottom there, the maximum duration that you can get for this set is 12 seconds. So I have just unequipped the 5th bonus piece for Jorvuld's guidance, so that the buff will not be extended by the 40%. So if I heavy attack right now on this dummy, if you watch my lower bar, the icons just above my health bar, those are my buffs that I'm going to receive. 10 seconds essentially is what I got there. Because of the 9, it's still counting the 0. That red icon right there is the Major Slayer icon. It's very similar to the Minor Slayer icon. It's very easy to watch and see if you're getting the buff from your healers in your trials. You can see how long they're giving it to you, and as well, you can see how long they're giving it to you. If you're not seeing this icon pop up for Major Slayer, or the number is quite small, something's wrong. So, how do you maximize it? Well, if I'm not wearing Jorvuld's, as I said before, the most you can get out of this is 12 seconds. So I'm on a Templar, which in my opinion is the easiest class to run Rojo on. And the reason is, they have the Illuminate passive coming from the Dawn's Wrath skill line. This is an extremely important buff to give your group if you do not have a Dragon Knight giving minor brutality. This right here buffs your entire group's spell damage by 10% for 20 seconds. It's an extremely easy passive to proc. All you have to do is cast one of these skills one time every 20 seconds. On a healer, I suggest this one right here because it does many things for you. One, it does damage if you're interested in that. Two, it heals your group. Three, it procs the Illuminate passive. So if you don't know how this skill works, oh, and by the way, it's extremely cheap to use. I have Magicka spell reduction glyphs on, and I'm a Breton Templar, so the Magicka cost here is virtually non-existent. So if you're not familiar with this skill, you essentially cast it on an enemy, they light up for 6 seconds, and the damage that they receive is going to be consumed. Now you can see this aura standing around this guy. If you're standing in it, it's going to heal whoever's in it. So if there's a group of DPS behind the enemy, just like this, when this ends, it's going to have a heal over time on it. Or who else might be getting this heal? Oh, looks like the tank from this position. So this is an extremely powerful skill to use, and it's very important. So now that we've kind of explained the skill, let's see what it does, just using this skill alone, what it does to our tooltip. Get here in the character sheet. Right now, I'm sitting at 2,475 weapon and spell damage. So if I only proc the Illuminate passive with minor sorcery, which is that blue icon now down on my bar, I now have 2,700. You can see the difference here is what I had before, and there's what I have now for spell damage. It's almost a 300, well, 230 points or so in the spell damage just from hitting that spell. So why is that important? Well, remember the set here is procced on a heavy attack depending on how much max magicka you have and your spell damage. So your max magicka can't really be adjusted in the trial except for when somebody hits a warhorn. However, you can increase your weapon damage. Now there's another couple of ways you can do that. I have a scribed skill here that gives minor courage to the group and yourself. So there's kind of three different things that I do before firing off a heavy attack with this set. Okay. The first one is I hit this skill, giving me the Illuminate passive. The other one is Combat Prayer. Well, why is that important? Because it gives you minor Berserk. That's a 15%, or excuse me, yes, 15% total if you combine it with the Illuminate passive. There's 5 here, 10 here. That's 15% increase to your damage. And then you can add on the minor courage. So now that I'm going to fire this off. Now remember, I still do not have this foot piece on. So I'm going to illustrate that the most you can get without having Jorvuld's on is 12 seconds. And there it is right there. So, oh, another very important buff that I almost forgot. Your potion. Make sure that you run a spell power pot if you do not have a Dragon Knight giving you ingenious weapons. I would recommend just running this anyway because they're not expensive to make. They give you the magic of recovery buff, as well as both the spell power and spell critical chance buff. They're very good to have on a healer. So, as long as you have your power buffed up and you still don't have the Jorvulds engaged, then the 12 seconds is the most you're going to get. Doesn't matter how much you pump up your damage or your max magicka, if you have put Jorvulds on a weapon, such as this one, and you put Roaring Opportunist on your body, and you are on your front bar heavy attacking, like this, it's not going to proc Roaring Opportunist for more than 12 seconds. So, now I'm going to put the foot piece back on. So now I will proc the set with my potion and the other buffs. And there you see I got 16 seconds out of this. And that's just about the most you can get for a proc on Roaring Opportunist. Now you have to remember when that dies off, you have to count to about 7, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, and heavy attack, and there's another proc there on the end of the left hand side, the red square there. Now, this is why I don't recommend running this as much as I do in other groups. You need to remember that that's a lot to remember when you're doing mechanics, healing a trial, and all of that. So keep in mind, that's how you maximize the Roaring Opportunist build. Thank you for watching.